Do you think ADHD impacts a woman's confidence?
That's what it impacts. Like, first and foremost, you've had ADHD since you were born. Most women have no idea that they had ADHD when they were kids. You felt like you were completely out of sync with other people and you didn't know why. Why am I having a hard time getting along with people? Why do I not have as many friends as I think I should have? Why do people seem to be annoyed with me all the time? Your brain is wired completely differently and nobody knows it.
Shanna Pearson has coached tens of thousands of women. She built the largest one-on-one ADHD coaching program in the world, and her work is helping women understand their brains and take their lives back.
Even if you've been getting by your entire life having ADHD, but you've created systems and you don't even know you have ADHD, perimenopause and menopause are when a lot of women go get diagnosed.
Today, Shana is breaking down what is really going on.
30 to 50% of our female clients have also been misdiagnosed with depression and mismedicated.
And she's sharing tools to help you feel more in control, less guilty, and finally understood.
But if you write down the 2 things or the 3 things at the most, and then you draw with a very thick line a box around it, this is an impenetrable wall. This is what you're focusing on right now, and it's this and only this.
So how do you know whether or not it's anxiety, depression, or ADHD, or both?
I think it's a really important thing to talk about because
before we start, I just want to say thank you. If this show has helped you feel seen, less alone, and just a little more understood, it would mean so much if you hit subscribe and left a review. I read every single one, and they're a big part of how we keep these conversations going. Now, this is a topic I have been wanting to cover since we started the podcast because I'm constantly asking myself, is this ADHD or is it brain fog? And I know I'm not alone. So many women are being diagnosed later in life, and I get your questions every single day about this. There is good news. Shanna Pearson is here to break it all down, and she's answering your questions at the end of this episode. So be sure and stick around till the end, and let's get into it. Shana, I am so excited you're here.
I am so excited I'm here.
And so is everybody else because 3 people came up to you all at once here in the studio and were like, okay, we need to talk to you about ADHD right now.
Exactly.
Which completely makes sense because I think it's been a really big topic of late.
It has been, especially for women.
First of all, not assuming that everybody knows these definitions. So let's define ADHD and then how it differs from ADD.
ADD is an old term. They stopped using it quite a few years ago.
Okay.
It used to be like the, ADHD without the hyperactivity.
Okay.
Now they call it ADHD-I, which is inattentive.
Oh,
so
wow.
it's just a little bit confusing. Because it still has the H there, but you can have 0 physical hyperactivity and then be diagnosed with ADHD-I, which is pretty common for a lot of women. That's like the most common diagnosis for the female population.
But overall, we can still say ADHD, right?
Definitely.
Right? You're an ADHD coach. How did you become one?
After I was diagnosed myself, thankfully, I was working in a nonprofit job creating a coaching program in health and wellness, which is not my expertise. But I got this job and I was doing a pretty good job because the participants, it was for 2,000 career coaches across the province of Ontario in Canada. And that was the same time that I was diagnosed with ADHD. And so I was seeing the results that these, career coaches were getting in their health and wellness coaching program. And I'm like, well, okay, I know how to get people from point A to point B. So, and then I was diagnosed with ADHD and I decided after spending so much time and effort in the health and wellness coaching program that I was doing, I'm like, I need to transfer this and help people that are me. Like these are my people. And so I just started it really slow, like just get one client. Once that was at a point where I already had to start learning everything about ADHD and what works.
To help yourself.
Yes.
Well, and so I always think that's where so many things are rooted, right? You're dealing with something yourself, and then you realize that there's more to learn, and then something to teach.
Much to learn.
How did it feel when you were diagnosed with ADHD?
I was 32. My life was a disaster, just to put it, straight. And at first, it was a bit of a mushmash because they actually diagnosed me with depression initially. And it didn't quite make sense, even though my life was very depressing at the time and I wasn't happy. And I answered all of the self-assessment questionnaires, according to, it seemed to fit with depression, but I wasn't depressed. And so, they put me on an antidepressant and that actually did make me feel depressed. And after a little bit, I told the doctor, I'm like, this is not me, this is not working. And then the doctor initially that told me to go get diagnosed in the first place sent me to one of those ADHD specialist doctors that literally took 2 days with me. It was like 6-hour days twice and looked at every part of my life all the way back to kindergarten. Wow. I had to bring in my report cards that my mother still kept. And yeah, so he did such a thorough diagnosis. He basically told me, you are the textbook version of extreme ADHD. And it totally made sense based on whatever I knew at the time.
So you had been ADHD your whole life, but didn't know that?
Everyone who has ADHD has had ADHD for their entire life. And it's interesting because a lot of, especially girls, they don't tend to be as visibly hyperactive as boys. So they tend to get missed when they're younger. They're not as problematic or disruptive. And so they get missed. And then, later in life, they might get diagnosed. Or for a lot of women, and this is, everything about this, when they're going through perimenopause or menopause because of the lower amounts of estrogen, which basically influence dopamine. And then you have an even lower amount of dopamine. So even if you've been getting by your entire life having ADHD, but you've created systems and you don't even know you have ADHD, perimenopause and menopause are when a lot of women go get diagnosed because their life just falls apart.
Because it's not being able to be controlled now anymore? Like you've had it all along?
Your systems, whether it's been like, organization or time management or mood management, check. Whatever systems you've made and you put into your life, they've been working. But then you hit this time in your life where your dopamine levels are even lower and those systems stop working because it becomes a lot heavier and more severe. And that's when people are like they can't manage their minds in a way, or it's just like they just feel like everything is spinning so far out of control. And that's when a lot of people go seek a diagnosis.
I will tell you that those words, I have to imagine, are going to make a lot of people hearing this, especially women, feel so much better and relieved that like maybe that is what's going on with me versus I feel like I'm losing it or I feel like something's really wrong with me or I'm going crazy.
Yes.
Because I will tell you, and I've not talked about this before, but about 1.5 years ago, I was sent to a psychiatrist from my therapist who said, I think that you have ADHD, but I want to see you a little bit more and probably go through the tests or the few days that you went through, but I backed out and I never did it. And I think I really regret that now, and I probably should go and follow through with that. But I really do, after reading your book and just continuing to learn more about it, I have to imagine that he was probably right. And it was probably something I didn't know if I was ready to hear.
If you're feeling great, and your life is feeling like you are feeling like you have your life under control, you don't necessarily need to go get a diagnosis if everything is fine.
Sure.
It's not like I need to know that I have this now because, maybe it's good, maybe not. But I think if you're definitely in the right profession and you are definitely doing the right type of work because, every day is different and you're always like speaking to different people and you're amazing, so
you're kind.
If everything is fantastic and on a good level for you.
But those systems that used to work for me, the systems that work for me for 30 years in news don't always work every day like they used to. And
right.
I'm definitely aware of that.
Interesting.
So when I was growing up, I guess the definition to me in my mind for ADHD was always like a fidgeting little boy in the classroom, right?
Totally.
It wasn't a 40-year-old mother of two. It wasn't a 55-year-old woman who switched. It wasn't anything that we're talking about now. So what is a typical client for you?
There's no typical ADHD, which is why it's actually tricky to diagnose. However, there are some key areas that everyone seems to have in common. If you're in your 40s and 50s and, everything's been working up until a certain point, it starts to feel like everything's unraveling. Our typical clients are unbelievably overwhelmed, where it feels like there's just way too much going on and it's all taking up the exact same amount of space in your head, there's nowhere to put anything because we're not able, this is something about ADHD that I think you and hopefully a lot of people watching this should know or listening to this should know. We don't have a very easy time compartmentalizing. Okay. So we're constantly living in this deluge of everything all at once right now. And if
I have to fix all this now and nothing really takes precedent.
Nothing.
It's all there.
It's all the exact same level of importance. Everything.
You've described that to a T though. That's exactly right.
Good.
And I hear a lot of women say that too.
And it's like that nonstop every day. There's no respite. There's no, like, oh, well, it was really stressful last week but now I'm done with that and everything is good. It is like that no matter what. Mm-hmm. And you're living in that, which is incredibly stressful.
There's no typical client for that. There's no typical just picture of somebody with ADHD. It could be all over the place.
For a lot of women, honestly, we tend to be a little bit more I don't want to say quieter. We tend to be more expressive and enthusiastic about different things, tend to be. Not everyone is. Mm-hmm. But all of us are drowning in overwhelm all the time. And that's something that, you can pretty much count on for any woman with ADHD.
What does ADHD look like in women today that maybe was different from, maybe 10 years ago? I don't know.
I feel like the way that the world is spinning and the amount of, I want to say it's like high volume. Everything is so high volume and there's so many places to look and so many areas to get completely lost on. So we didn't have doom scrolling the way that we do now. We didn't have anything. We didn't have our social. We didn't have the phones. We didn't have smartphones back then the way we do now. So it was easier to create systems that you can follow because there wasn't all of this other stuff pulling you in to different directions everywhere you go. And the stuff that we have now that's so distracting, we carry it with us. Mm-hmm. There's nowhere to go without it. So I feel like it's really hard. It's really, really, really hard now more than ever to have this type of brain.
You have Invisible ADHD is the book that you have. Yep. And there's a lot of strategies in this to really manage what's going on during this time.
There's over 100 strategies. I did way too much.
100 strategies?
There's plenty of people out there that write an entire book on one really great strategy. And I guess because I have everything all at once right now, brain, I'm just put it in there. Just because you don't know what's going to work for somebody or what might not. So I put so many tools in this book that we use right now in our coaching program. I just want people to have it. I want everyone to have it.
If you're listening to this or watching this today and you're listening to what Shana's saying and you're like, oh my gosh, I think that's me. I need some strategies. I want to go through some of those. Mm-hmm. First, I want to go back to one thing you said. You said that I was in the right profession for somebody with ADHD. Is there a right or wrong profession? Or are there certain professions for someone with ADHD that work better?
I say as long as you're in a profession that you love, genuinely love. And I know you love what you're doing.
I do.
I know, I can feel it in everywhere. And not even just here in person, but you can tell that you love what you're doing. That's the right profession. Don't go into a profession that you should be doing. Don't go into a profession because it necessarily pays 10% more than another profession, but it's going to be boring. And you won't be able to stick with it. Okay. Because I always tell our clients, it's one thing to get a job, and it's a completely different story to keep a job. And ADHDers tend to have a tougher time keeping jobs in terms of being able to stay with the same thing day after day. You have to love it.
Or have some variety in it.
Yeah. I mean, that's part of loving it, right? If you have a job that has variety, then you're going to love, my job, I'm doing this. I've been doing the same. I've been running this company for so many years, and I cannot believe how I've stuck with it. But there's no day that's boring.
So your company, you have coaches under you, right?
Yes. I have a lot of coaches under me.
ADHD coaches that you trained?
I train all of them. I train them. They're in training for close to a year.
Wow.
With me. And it's almost like the less they already know about ADHD coaching, the better they are because there's less unlearning to do. Because what we do isn't just, I feel like a lot of ADHD coaching really focuses on time management and organization. And I know for a fact that you have to go a lot deeper than that.
Okay.
Because you can have a million time management strategies, but as an ADHD woman, if you don't feel like implementing them, you won't.
ADHD, is it genetic? Is it environmental? Is it both?
It's genetic. It's highly genetic. And it's almost 100% of the time, if you are diagnosed with ADHD, somebody very closely related to you has it. It doesn't have to be your parents, but it could be your grandparents or uncles or aunts, but you will find a very close family member who has it as well.
So interesting. So genetic. So if you see, if your mother has ADHD, it's quite possible that
chances are pretty high that you'll have it. Or if you're a woman who has ADHD, chances are, if you have 2 or 3 kids, one of them will most likely, not necessarily, but most likely, one of them will have symptoms of ADHD or just have ADHD.
I hear more than ever women in menopause or perimenopause with ADHD or feeling like they have ADHD, or trying to figure out whether is it brain fog or is it ADHD. We have all this new vocabulary right now. And so if there's a woman listening and says like, listen, I'm forgetting things. I feel like I'm kind of all over the place. I'm working on my phone. The next minute I forget in the middle of an email, I forget what I was doing and I go over here. How do you differentiate between those two things? Because there's a lot going on with your body when your hormones start to decline.
You really have to look at your entire life. Because again, you're not like ADHD doesn't just happen. So you'll know like with the brain fog, have you always been a little bit like that? Have you always felt like you're in when you're going through perimenopause or menopause, you kind of feel like you're at a different frequency than a lot of people around you, unless they happen to be going through the same thing that you're going through. But have you always felt that? Have you always felt a little bit like not in alignment with the rest of the world and you're operating at a different speed or level? These are things to ask like about, when you're in high school or when you're in your 20s or 30s. Has it always been like that on some level? And if so, you might want to get checked out. But I want to say, and I think it's really important because a lot of us, when we're feeling off and, we're not feeling great or we're feeling like, I've just been feeling sadder than usual or more anxious than usual. And we tell our GP, they'll give us a self-assessment. They'll always give us the same self-assessment. So we've all gotten these if you've ever said this to your doctor. So I can show you what they give you. And they give
so
it
if
to
you go into your doctor and you say, I'm feeling a little bit off.
Yeah, I'm feeling off or I'm feeling anxious all the time. I'm constantly worrying. I can't stop worrying. Or I just feel, this is one especially for women in their 40s or 50s. I feel like my life just isn't turning out the way I wanted it to. And I don't know what to do about it. And I can't make my life work, which is something I hear all the time from our clients. They'll give you self-assessment tools and they'll either give it to you on a clipboard or on an iPad, but you'll get this same self-assessment. And the one for anxiety, it's called the GAD-7. Okay. And this is the anxiety self-assessment. And they'll give this one to you and they'll also give you the PHQ-9, which is the one for depression.
Can you read some of those on the two?
This is really important. So this is super, super important. I think everybody needs to know this. The GAD-7 for anxiety asks 7 questions. And every single one of these questions, for example, feeling nervous or on edge, not being able to stop or control worrying. This is for anxiety, so it makes sense, right? Trouble relaxing. Being so restless, it's hard to sit still. Is it starting to, because you can tell, exactly
Is it starting to sit with me, Shana? Yes.
Yeah, you're starting, where I'm going. Being annoyed or easily irritable.
Okay.
And, feeling afraid as if something awful might happen. These are all symptoms of ADHD.
But that's an anxiety test.
Exactly. And I would say about 30 to 50% of our female clients that are, around our age range have also been misdiagnosed with depression and mismedicated.
And instead it was
ADHD. And these are the lucky people who found out later that it was ADHD. They were told that they had depression and most people would just take antidepressants. But then you feel even worse because what you're doing isn't working.
Because that's not the right solution for ADHD?
It's not the right solution. Okay. So this is the PHQ-9. This is the self-assessment tool that they will give you at your GP to see if you have depression. So feeling down, feeling a little bit sad. Like if you have ADHD and your life isn't working out, you will answer that as many days, more than half days. poor appetite or overeating. I feel like all of our clients fall into one of those categories. Trouble concentrating on things.
That should be number one.
Yeah. Feeling bad about yourself. So remember, there's only 9 questions on this. And already, okay. Being fidgety or restless, that you have to keep moving around. Little interest in, or pleasure in doing things, probably 30% of our clients, when they come to us and they have ADHD and they can't figure out what to do when.
Right.
And then they're doing something and it's not working for them and they get so frustrated and they lose interest. And so of the PHQ-9, there are 8 of the 9 questions that women with ADHD would respond either a 1, 2, or 2 or 3 to.
Well, yeah. So how do you know whether or not it's anxiety, depression, or ADHD, or both?
I think it's a really important thing to talk about because the ADHD self-assessment that they give you in your doctor's office hits a lot of the productivity, but it doesn't hit the overwhelm. It doesn't hit the extreme levels of feeling so stuck that you can't even move.
And that's ADHD.
And that's ADHD for women. So even the ADHD self-assessment tools, they're made for, mostly it's for men.
Now, is this the ADHD? Is this how you screen for ADHD?
This is how you screen for ADHD. It's much more in depth.
If somebody wants to be screened for ADHD, where do they need to go? Is it a doctor? Is it a coach?
You need to go to your doctor, and then after they give you the initial assessment, you need to go to an ADHD specialist because they are the ones that know about the deeper. Most of them know, not everyone knows though, but they'll know about the deeper overwhelm.
Is that a doctor or is that a coach?
That would be a doctor.
A specialist, okay.
Yeah, it would be a doctor. But, the ADHD self-assessment is, trouble keeping your attention on certain things. You misplace things. Like, it's a lot of the surface. It's a lot of the stuff that people, joke around about for ADHD, but it doesn't talk about the emotional side. And I think that for women with ADHD, everything is emotional. Yeah.
Are you seeing more women being diagnosed with ADHD than you ever have before?
Yes. Yeah, thankfully. A lot, I would say when I first started doing this work, a lot of the people that came to us, the adults, because we only work with adults, they came to us because their kids were diagnosed. And they're like, oh, my son was diagnosed and I just realized that I'm very similar to this. Or, they figured out where their kid got it from. And so that was why they would be diagnosed. But now, thank goodness, because there's a lot more awareness, people are asking questions. And I think it's really important if your doctor diagnoses you or if you feel anxious or, depressed, but I don't mean like depression where you feel like there's no point. I mean, sadness and difficulty, concentrating, like those symptoms, you should also ask for an ADHD assessment proper and see where you fall on that scale. Because otherwise, if you don't ask for it, it's unlikely you'll just get it. Because right now, anxiety and depression self-assessments, they're like the default. So that's what you'll get. And they'll mark you off as, moderate to severe anxiety, moderate to severe depression, and here's your medication.
And then that's it.
Yeah, and then you won't know.
What is happening inside an ADHD brain versus a neurotypical brain?
Everything all at once. That's really what it is. It's like the same things are happening, but there's no place to put anything. Even when you have to focus on this and not on that. Even when you know that. Because we all know what to do. The thing that you're not supposed to be focusing on is always going to seep in and kind of overtake everything else. And then you're not able to regulate.
So how do you regulate? If a woman is listening to this right now and says like, okay, I'll go to a specialist, I'll take the assessment, I'll figure that out. But gosh, I'd like to get through the end of this week because I can't go make that doctor's appointment. Right. So what can I start doing today to regulate? Something
super easy that everyone can start doing. And I think this is super helpful for me. Number one, I'm a big believer in physical action. My whole coaching program is almost, I say this in the book, but it's more akin to athletic coaching, even though it's not athletic at all, than it is to like life coaching. Because life coaching is like asking yourself, well, what should I do? Or if I did know the answer, what would I do? And for people with ADHD, we cannot know those answers because we have a million different answers based on how much sleep you got the night before. right? And it's always
Is
going
that
to
true?
change.
Is it all based on sleep?
It's not just on sleep, but it's based on everything outside of you. It could be based on what you ate for breakfast. It could be based on what the driver next to you yelled at you on the way to work. It could be based on how much sleep you got or just how you're feeling about yourself that day. But your answers within are going to change today from tomorrow, from the next day. They're always going to be different. And so people who have ADHD have to figure out, or I can tell you, how to
Please
do
tell
things
us.
that go outside of you. So I love the action of writing by hand, not typing on your phone, because that's
Not asking chat.
not asking chat. I mean, there's good things about
Of
that
course.
too. But if you're in a place and you can't get out of it, I think something that's wonderful to do is just to purposefully think about a solution. Think about an explanation or a solution to whatever it is that you're upset about and write it down with your non-dominant hand.
Wait, can you explain that? Say that again.
So if I'm thinking about a solution to something like, or an explanation like, that guy cut me off on the highway and I can't get over it because I feel like, he disrespected me and I always feel disrespected. And even my family disrespected me until you just start like going and spiraling. And so you could just, obviously we're all logical people. We're not, we're able to think things through and you realize, well, maybe one out of every, 200 traffic incidents in my week, somebody's a jerk.
Right.
So really it's just a numbers game. And so it was my time today to get some jerk to do something. So I would write down, it's just a numbers game. This is like the 1 out of 200 driver that did that. And, and there's nothing wrong with it. It has nothing to do with me.
But you're getting it out of you.
You're getting it out. But here's the thing.
So it doesn't keep spiraling.
But here's the thing. If you write it out with your non-dominant hand. So if I try writing I'm a righty. And if I write something down with my left hand, I have to focus so intently on every single letter that I'm writing. And it still looks horrible, right? Like it's barely readable. But while I'm writing this, like it's just, even if I just wrote down, it's just a numbers game. Because that makes sense to me, the way I think, like numbers. Okay, fine. 1 out of 200. Okay. It's, once I've done that with my non-dominant hand, I've slowed down purposefully enough that it's completely registered.
Wow.
If I think about it, it just went boom. It's like doesn't even exist.
But you are right about the focus. I mean, I think I always feel better. I think a lot of women feel so much better when they can, like even as silly as putting focus on your computer, for just a minute of the text messages or whatever it is that's going to disrupt your day. So that's one solution. Are there some other solutions that you can give people listening that want to just kind of regulate in the moment? Because we do have a lot coming at us, a lot more than we ever had before.
We definitely do. And if it's something where I think something that's really helpful to do when there's so much coming at us and at the same time, there's things that we have to do in a certain time. A lot of us will start to do something and then drift over to the next thing and then the next thing and then the next thing. And then you're down like some rabbit hole and it's like 6 hours later and you didn't even touch what you were supposed to do. So I love this and our clients love this. But if you write down the 2 things or the 3 things at the most that you need to do this afternoon. So you write down, boom, boom, boom. And then you draw with a very thick line, a box around it. And it has to be thick. Because when it's just a thin
Sharpie.
Yeah, if it's just like a thin line, you can kind of like leave the box. But if it's a thick line, it visually shows you like this is an impenetrable wall. And this is what you're focusing on right now. And it's this and only this. And for some reason, the box and the walls, it creates a compartment, which, as I was saying before, we don't compartmentalize very well. And so we are purposefully creating visually and mentally a compartment. And so this is what I'm doing now, and this is all I'm doing. But the walls help a lot.
That is fascinating. I've never thought
amazing.
of that. Because I will make to-do lists till forever.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, here's another to-do list from last Wednesday that never got done.
Right. It had like 50, 60 items on it. That's why. Tamsen.
Drink water.
No, but if you only had 3 things, that's my saying, keep it to 3 and you're free.
So 3 is a max.
3 is a max.
Why is 3 a max?
Because otherwise the overwhelm just makes us want to escape. and we won't do anything, or we'll just do the least important things because they're the easiest for us to fall into.
This show is sponsored by MIDI Health. If you're in midlife and you've ever felt dismissed or talked over or simply told just to deal with it when it comes to your health, you are far from alone. For years, women's serious midlife symptoms have been ignored or minimized. We've been handed vague answers, outdated treatments, or worse, nothing at all. And even now, 75% of women who seek care for perimenopause or menopause go entirely untreated. It is unbelievable to me. I know what it feels like. And I also know it doesn't have to be this way. That's where MIDI comes in. MIDI is changing the experience of midlife health. They are a virtual clinic built by women's health experts, providing personalized, evidence-based care that's covered by insurance. That's right. MIDI is the only women's telehealth platform of its kind that works with major insurance providers to deliver the care you deserve. You'll meet face-to-face with a trained clinician who actually listens to you. They offer real solutions, from hormone therapy to weight management to lifestyle changes that meet you where you are. This is not a one-size-fits-all care. This is your care for your second act. Ready to feel your best and write your second act script? Visit joinmidi.com today to book your personalized insurance-covered virtual visit. That's joinmidi.com. MIDI, the care women deserve. Do you think ADHD impacts a woman's confidence?
That's what it impacts. Like, first and foremost, it impacts our self-esteem and our confidence because, again, you've had ADHD since you were born. And most women have no idea that they had ADHD when they were kids, because back in those days, they were not diagnosing girls. Mm-hmm. So when you were a child, you felt like you were completely out of sync with other people and you didn't know why. And that's the big thing. It's like, why am I having a hard time getting along with people? Why do I not have as many friends as I think I should have? Why do people seem to be annoyed with me all the time? And you're like this child and you don't know why. And nobody around you knows why. And your brain is wired completely differently and nobody knows it. So you grew up like that. You grew up feeling like the square peg trying to fit into a round hole and you never could. And it affects your confidence. It affects everything.
Why do you think we start to see it, or we start to believe we see it, in perimenopause and menopause years?
It's because of the estrogen. And the estrogen, we start, our estrogen lowers naturally. And because of that, we have even less dopamine available in our brain. And that's really what ADHD, a big part of ADHD is just not having as much dopamine available. And so you now have less dopamine available to a woman who already has less dopamine available to her brain. So now it's like you're doubling down. You need systems.
Is there enough research? Is there research out there? Is there enough of it out there? Because I think midlife has just been overlooked. Then women are overlooked, especially women in perimenopause and menopause years. So where does ADHD come into that?
I think that there needs to be so much more research. Like the fact that the anxiety self-assessment scales and the depression self-assessment scales have so much overlap with ADHD and nobody's talking about it yet is mind-blowing to me. It's mind-blowing because this is a completely different fix than to help a person who has depression actually or anxiety. And a lot of people with ADHD have both, but they're only taking medication or they're only focusing on the anxiety part or the depression part instead of also helping themselves live their life with the ADHD. So it makes things even worse because they're not able to help themselves the way that they could and the way that they deserve.
Do you have some good tools for women who are struggling in perimenopause? We're dealing with so much during this time, just trying to get the physical part right. Then there's the emotional part that comes into play. And then there's the relationship part that comes, and there's a lot of things that happen during this time. Are there a few good tools that you think make sense for women, especially during this time?
Definitely. There's so many. There's so many tools. But
can you give us maybe two of them?
One of the best things that we can do in this age range is, and I don't know how people are going to feel about this, but to increase the amount of dopamine and, in our own ways, using physical state changes is super popular in our company. Our clients love it.
What's a physical state change?
So you would probably understand it naturally because it's probably what you do. Anyway, you just don't know it. But when you're feeling overwhelmed or you're feeling sad or just like down for any reason, you probably move your body naturally. Like maybe you'll go for a walk or maybe you'll run or work out or whatever. But a lot of people don't do that. And when you see, like when your states they're all connected. So your mental state, your physical state, your emotional state, everything is connected. And the way that you change anything is by changing one of them. And the easiest one to change is your physical state. So even if it doesn't have to be exercise, even if it's something, this is a scary one, but I love it. If you like eat a mint, okay, and right after you eat this really strong mint, you then drink a really cold glass of water. That is a physical state change. You're going to be like, whoa. Your brain is just like, boom. And you're out of whatever you were in. You know, whatever state you were in that wasn't working for you, you've just woken up your brain. Obviously, you could go for a walk and go outside. You can do all those like obvious ones. I believe in like music especially, but just going outside of your head is the best thing that we can do as women. I have a saying, the best way to get out of your head is to get into your body. And
very true.
It totally works. And it works for productivity as well as mood management.
What do you think about social media with ADHD? Should you limit the use of that, or do you need to do something in a different way? I
personally don't have social media, which is insane.
You don't have social media?
Yeah. It's crazy.
Nothing?
I have profiles, but I don't go on them.
Why? Because it would be a time suck for you?
Kryptonite for people with ADHD. It's so like
I'm having a hot flash and ADHD.
Like I think social media is actually beautiful. The fact that we can learn and share and be with each other no matter where we are, like it's incredible what we're able to do. It actually is. I believe in the idea of it, but I know myself. And so for me, it would be like if I were a recovering alcoholic and I went to sit in a bar. Like it's not a good idea. Or if you've been trying to lose weight and get in shape and then you sit yourself in a really great French bakery, like just don't do it, you know?
What does it cause you to do? Just lose track of time?
I lose track of my day. Like I just get lost in it because I'm really interested.
Is it a time thing? Is it a comparison thing? Is it
I think for me it's
emotional thing? Not for you, just for everybody. Does it do all those things?
For a lot of our clients, because we talk about it, every client has issues with their social media. Comparison is really, it's a big one. I know that when I ask our clients, I want you to rate how you feel after spending 1 hour on your social. How do you feel?
What's the answer you usually
get? It's never good. It's never, I feel awesome. I feel like I can do anything. I feel energized. It's always like, it's either flat,
right,
or depleted, or sad.
I mean, I know what social media does, but I would also think that like your brain can really process a lot quickly. So you're
done in like 5 minutes. You've gotten everybody's stories.
I read all of Google. You know, I feel like
if you've got incredible discipline, which a lot of people do, limit your time. Give yourself a 20-minute time yourself for 20 minutes, and that's when you get your fix.
Yep.
If you know that doesn't tend to work for you, then like that's something like I can't do that. I just get sucked into people's stories.
How does undiagnosed ADHD impact partnerships and parenting?
So this book, interestingly enough, I've already known of 3 men, which is so funny because it's not a lot. I mean, the book hasn't come out yet. So These are all advanced readers, right? Who have read it because of their wives. And
because their wife is going through something.
Because their wife is going through something and they don't know what to do. And so, I'll be like, you have to read this book. Just read it, and it gives them all of this insight. I think in terms of if you have ADHD, your partner needs to know. And we have had clients who've kept this a secret from their partner because there's so much stigma, or there used to be stigma. I don't know if there still is.
Is there shame associated with it?
Yeah, because especially if you're somebody who always wants to be perfect. Mm-hmm. Now you're telling somebody who you're spending your life with that you're not perfect, that there's something going on with you that's not amazing. And that's a hard thing because now their husbands, especially if they're going through perimenopause now or menopause, their husbands are at their wits' end. And so, and I'm just saying this like for women who have ADHD and their husbands, there are plenty of men who have ADHD and their wives don't know. So it works both ways, but just to stick with the women, the people in your life need to know in order to understand you and in order to not blame you.
If someone's going through that and their partner gets frustrated with them, and maybe they do or they don't know they have it, how do you deal with that? How do you teach a partner to deal with somebody who has ADHD?
Give them the book.
Okay.
The book has all of the inner. Like
Okay.
it explains our emotional reality, which is so much bigger than the I can't manage my time and it's hard for me to be organized.
Okay.
Like that's surface. The emotional reality is everything. It's how we feel all the time. And so when people get that, like in my coaching program, we invite partners to participate every, month and a half or so, like just so everyone's on the same page. The amount of understanding that the partners have changes. I feel like that changes just as much as the coaching changes the ADHD person, because them understanding what's going on is a game changer.
So does ADHD impact relationships?
100% in such a big way, because when you have ADHD and you're overwhelmed all the time and you're forgetting everything, and you've always got this, you have such a hard time managing your emotions and you lash out or you impulsively do something that your partner wasn't in alignment with. So there's the impulsivity, there's the emotion, there's a forgetfulness. There's so many things that impact relationships that, if your partner doesn't know you have ADHD, you're gonna be faulted.
Is there a solution for that to help you and also help a partner that's standing by your side through a lot of this? Is there something that somebody can do to like really focus?
Yes. Yeah, this is also like what I'm writing about. It's, there's communication strategies and being able, as an ADHD person, being able to listen to your partner is very challenging. It's challenging to listen because you've got this dialogue that's so loud going through your head all the time. How can you possibly listen to somebody else? I mean, you are like amazing at it, but not everyone is. And so, just being able to actually zone in on your partner and hearing what they have to say, whether it's a man or a woman, it doesn't matter. You just have to hear them and know what they're saying and know what you are saying to them. Commit to the one thing. Don't make too many commitments. Commit to one thing that you said you were going to do. Write it down. Put a big box around it.
Just one thing
just
there.
that. And that's what I'm going to do, and make it visual. And then it's much easier to stick to your commitments, because that's a big one, is when we break commitments.
It's a big one to break commitments.
Huge. Because when you're doing it constantly, and your partner doesn't know that your brain is wired differently, like actually is, then they're just going to think that you don't care. You don't care. Or I don't matter enough to you, or are you just lazy? Or there's so many things that we'll hear.
What is a good morning routine for somebody with ADHD? Because I feel like we want everyone's day to kind of get started. And I think when you have too many of these self-care things, you get nothing done, right? Like I feel like sometimes all the wellness things can make you feel unwell if you don't, if you have a brain like that, or just really anybody. So what is a good morning routine for somebody with ADHD?
I love this thing that I call mood scheduling, which is it works for a lot of us, and it's really the opposite of what a lot of morning routines are, because a lot of morning routines are about centering and grounding and doing all the things we're supposed to be doing. When you have an everything all at once right now brain, it's also a good idea to know when your most productive times are. So for a lot of us, it's actually at the beginning of the day. And so that's the part of the day or the time of the day that we're doing a lot of self-care. Mm-hmm. However, for a woman with ADHD, it's also a really good idea to knock out one of your higher, I guess, I would say not high priority, but one of your tougher tasks at the beginning of the day when your brain is most on. So if the beginning of the day is a good time for you and according to your circadian rhythm, because it's not like that for everyone, but if it is, you want to knock something out earlier rather than later, and maybe do the self-care after that.
Are women with ADHD or suspect they have ADHD doubted because a lot of people think that they have it right now, or because it's being talked about quite a bit?
I don't think so. I don't think they're doubted that they have ADHD if they've actually been diagnosed. I hear a lot of people saying, I feel so ADHD. And that's a big one. And it kind of, to be honest, I mean, I just jokingly, it's good for business, okay? When the whole world thinks that they have ADHD.
Of course.
But the fact is, a lot of people who feel like they have ADHD don't have ADHD. Some of them definitely do, and they just feel like they're really, scattered, or it's a very chaotic time. The people that are saying this are also lightening the ADHD, because they're just saying like, I'm so all over the place and I'm super forgetful. But it minimizes the emotional part of what ADHD is, which is, I feel, it's the biggest part. It's the biggest part. It literally takes us out. We can't move. We're paralyzed. We feel like it's like, you're, a house, like a house deck of cards, and everything is like stacked so perfectly, and any second, the whole thing is just going to fall apart. That's how we feel every moment of the day. And we're just on the surface.
We're just holding it all up.
Yeah. And it's not about, I can't be on time. It's so much heavier than that. And I feel like really people need to understand that and not minimize it. And if people say they have ADHD, it's not light. It's not like a light and fluffy thing. And I also want to say it is certainly not a superpower. It's not.
I wanted to ask you about that. I know I've heard a lot of people say that ADHD is a superpower.
Yeah.
There are some positives to ADHD?
For sure. The hyperfocus, if you're hyper-focused on the right things, that's an amazing thing to be able to do, is that you can just stay glued into whatever you're doing if you enjoy doing it. It's no problem for us.
What are some of the other positives?
ADHD specific, we tend to, as a group, be, a little bit more enthusiastic and open to trying new things. It's been said that we tend to think more outside the box. Mm-hmm. Between you and I feel like our clients are both sides are on every spectrum of the creativity spectrum. I have a lot of clients who are super creative and think way outside the box. I have clients that are very they're bookkeepers and accountants, and numbers are their game, right. and they're not thinking outside the box, which is great for them. They don't want to be outside the box.
We can't just say it's this is the diagnosis of somebody with ADHD and they're all like this.
Honestly, the positives, in my opinion, are that we're very good at hyper-focusing when we're interested in something, and that can carry you pretty far in life if you find yourself in something that you love.
You wrote a chapter in Invisible ADHD titled ADHD Medication Management. Pills Don't Teach Skills. How do you feel about medication?
I think medication is a lifesaver for many people, and I have nothing bad to say about medication at all. That said, you have to make sure you're on the correct medication, because there's a lot of different medications for ADHD. And I also have noticed a lot of our clients come to us on these dosages that are extremely high. Mm-hmm. And I'm sensitive to that, because when I was first diagnosed with ADHD, I was put on a low medium dose of a common medication. And I thought I was about to lose my mind.
Because why?
I don't know. I was just like, I couldn't do anything. I mentioned it in my book. I was so focused on the most irrelevant things. And so it's interesting, because the ADHD medication, when it's a stimulant, which most of them are, it does help you focus. It does. Mm-hmm. That's a good thing. It doesn't help you focus on the right things, though.
Oh, it just helps you focus.
It just helps you focus.
It needs your box. What is your box called?
Well, I just call it break it into boxes, where you take things and you put it in a very thick-walled box.
Right.
But, if you can focus, it's great. But if you're focused on your Twitter feed for 6 hours straight, it's not great. And so you have to then have the tools and the skills.
Exercise, meditation, routines. Are those all essential if you're diagnosed with ADHD, or you think you might have ADHD?
I feel routines, definitely. I think you need to have categories and times to do things so that you don't fall into a billion rabbit holes.
Yes.
I personally am a huge believer in physical activity. It makes me feel amazing. And meditation is something I am horrible at. When I wrote about it in my book about
I'm with
this
you.
random trip to India, and I was trying so hard to learn how to meditate, and I was terrible at it. But I did a lot of hiking, and that's what I guess they call moving meditation.
Good.
And that was my thing. I was like running and climbing and moving, and my mind would just quiet.
Why invisible ADHD?
There's two reasons why invisible. Number one, the female symptoms of ADHD are not noticeable. They're a lot less noticeable. You can see when a person is like fidgeting nonstop or like unable to make eye contact and like constantly distracted by everything around them. You can see that. But a woman who's overwhelmed and is just sitting there like daydreaming, you can't see it. So our symptoms are invisible. We tend to feel invisible because we're living in a world that's wired for neurotypical people, and we're not. And we can't tell whether, what's wrong with us, or we don't know what's wrong with us. And so the symptoms are invisible, but we're invisible. Like the amount of women, especially with these self-assessment diagnoses, that are living with this wiring of a brain and have no idea, we're invisible. Women with ADHD. And I hope, in the next few years, we can bring a lot of light to it. And really, people need to get the help that they need to get, because it is like, this is my whole thing. And after working and managing our coaching company for so many years, I know for a fact that the right skills totally turn people's lives around.
What are those right skills? Are those routines?
The routines, a lot of the tools that I put in here, but they're not all going to work for everyone, but some of them definitely will. But just there's ways to slow down your brain so that you're able to focus on what you need to focus on, whatever that happens to be. There's ways to slow down. It's really, just controlling your runaway brain, right? Mm-hmm. There's ways to be able to communicate in ways where you can tell that you understand what they're saying, and they can tell that they can understand what you're saying. And so it's much more understanding rather than constantly feeling misunderstood, which is a big thing for people who have ADHD.
If there's somebody listening right now that says that's what I feel like, I feel like everything she's saying, what should they do? ADHDcoaching.com
will help you. However, I want to say, and this is super obvious, you have to get this book. You have to, because nobody's going to read the book and not get anything out of it. Like, that's impossible.
Should you go to a therapist or a doctor?
You can get a doctor to diagnose you properly. Don't the self-assessment questionnaires, if you even are able to have the ADHD self-assessment questionnaire, that'll help you know whether you should go get a real diagnosis. And if that's the case, please go to an ADHD specialist and somebody hopefully who understands women's ADHD, because it shows up so differently than men's, which is why, the ADHD self-assessment even is very productivity based and it's not very emotional based. But just know that you need to go to a specialist and figure out what's going on with you.
We asked on social media for some questions for you, and we got flooded with questions.
Oh, my goodness.
I just want to read a few of them.
Let's do it.
This is from Instagram. Jenny asks, what is a reset, refocus tool I can try? No meds, no pills, just a mental tool.
There's so many mental tools. To get back on track, please try a physical state change. So just get off your butt, because a lot of us are doing everything that we need to do sitting, either at a computer or on our phone. Stand up, put on your favorite song, whatever it happens to be in that moment, and just like move around to that song and get back onto whatever you are doing.
Meg from Instagram. I was diagnosed with ADHD before perimenopause. I do play the game daily. Is it ADHD or menopause? I take both HRT and ADHD meds. I am doing better on both. Some days are tough, and sometimes it's hard to tell if it's menopause or if it's ADHD at this point. I think that's a question a lot of women have.
So many, because it's really, it's almost the same thing. It's if your estrogen is lower and your dopamine is lower, it's almost like women in menopause are like I don't want to say are like a woman with ADHD before menopause, because they have lower dopamine. Like a woman in menopause is going to have less dopamine, right? That's kind of like how women with ADHD feel all the time. That's what we're dealing with all the time. But I don't want to say that it's the same, because it's not the same. But whether it's ADHD or menopause, if you're treating both, then that's what you need to do. Then she's doing it. She's treating both of them. And then why does it matter if it's this or that? If you're treating them both, if you still feel like you're super disorganized or you're having a hard time regulating your emotions, tools and methods, including some of the things that we just spoke about today, are going to help you regardless of whether it's ADHD or menopause.
So it doesn't matter if it's ADHD or menopause. If you're getting help for both, now you have to figure out those reset tools.
Exactly. The reset tools will work regardless of your diagnosis.
Sarah said to us, why can I plan everything perfectly but never follow through? Is that ADHD?
It could be ADHD. That is for sure. That's a big one. Planning is easy. Following through is the more overwhelming part.
It is.
And you don't necessarily know exactly what to do when. And that's where you get stuck.
I think what you've said that's really hitting home for me is that everything seems urgent.
Yes.
Everything seems like it needed to happen yesterday.
Exactly. Or last week. Or like you're behind no matter
you're behind.
what.
I'm always behind.
You're always behind.
Yes.
Yeah. And you're constantly running and it's literally the quicksand dream.
Can you tell people they're not always behind?
Oh my gosh. You are there. Where's the end goal? Like, where are you trying to get to? That's a big one. That's something that everyone should write down. Like, what am I behind on exactly? Why do I feel like I'm running behind? Where am I going?
Oh, that's so true. It's so true.
Because we get caught up in all of these
running in place to refocus.
Where are we going anyway? Do you know where we're going? I don't know where we're going. Okay, well, maybe we should stop and get a smoothie. I don't know.
Or keep running.
Yeah.
Shana, you're not on social media, so we're going to give you some rapid fire that we see a lot on social media, okay?
Good. Bring it on.
ADHD medication fixes everything.
No, it helps you focus. It doesn't help you focus on the right things.
If your mom has ADHD, you probably do too.
Not necessarily, but somebody in your family closely related to you might have it.
Genetic.
Yes.
Everyone that has ADHD is lazy and unmotivated.
Definitely not.
ADHD is caused by too much screen time.
No, ADHD is something you are born with.
ADHD is a superpower. You just have to unlock it.
I don't believe ADHD is a superpower. I believe it's extremely hard when people have ADHD.
But there are some positives?
The positives are hyperfocus. That's an amazing thing to be able to do.
People with ADHD are more sensitive to rejection.
Yes. In general, we are definitely more sensitive to rejection. It takes over all of us.
How long and how do you get rid of it?
You have to be a lot more objective and try to get out of your head and look at what's happening objectively rather than subjectively.
People with ADHD often interrupt others.
Yes. The volume in our own mind of what we're wanting to say is extremely loud.
People with ADHD always procrastinate.
We do not always procrastinate, but we do tend to procrastinate because of the overwhelm.
People with ADHD have hard time making decisions.
Yes, because every option is awesome or horrible. Like everything.
You just diagnosed me.
Yeah.
If you can hyperfocus, you can't have ADHD.
Incorrect.
Women with ADHD are more likely to struggle in relationships.
Yes, absolutely. Divorce rate is higher for women who have ADHD.
Is that women and men or whoever has it? Or
it's women and men. We have there's so many reasons why we have a hard time in relationships, just because of emotional regulation, communication, but also commitment. It's tough because the grass is really always greener because you're constantly looking at every option.
You don't need a diagnosis, just self-awareness.
I believe a diagnosis is very helpful.
If you were successful in school, you don't have ADHD.
Incorrect. We've had so many clients be told by their doctors they don't have ADHD when in fact they do, just because they were doing well in school.
Everyone has a little ADHD. It's just modern life.
Incorrect. ADHD is not chaos or disorganization. It's a lifelong condition.
Planners don't work for people with ADHD.
Incorrect. Planners are great. I love planners. If you use it.
You need to make a planner.
Yeah.
Oh, Shana, thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
You're
this is
wonderful.
super fun.
If you're walking away from this episode thinking, wait a minute, that totally sounds like me. You're not alone, you're not broken, and you're not lazy. You're most likely underserved, misunderstood, and overdue for support. If this conversation helped you out, share it with a friend, subscribe, follow, leave us a review, and follow us on social at The Tamsen Show. If you have a topic you'd like us to cover, my email's in the show notes. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you next Wednesday. So today's episode is sponsored by MIDI Health. If you are ready to feel your best and write your second act script, visit joinmidi.com today to book your personalized insurance-covered virtual visit. That's joinmidi.com. MIDI, the care that women deserve.